All right. Don't check the video. It's new one. This again, welcome back. This is Councilman Raymond Beltran, Porterville City Council, District 1 representative. I'm just doing a City Council recap for July 21st. If you watch my previous videos, thank you. I really appreciate this. This isn't a matter of trying to convince you who's right or who's wrong. Again, I've shared this multiple times. I want you to understand my process of thinking, what I think may benefit the community, and just my vision. You know, a lot of times I'm out voted on a lot of perspective, a lot of opinions on things I think could enhance some of the things we're doing. And so this is item number 34 on the consent calendar. It had to do with the remodeling of the city council chambers. There have been a few things over the last year, some new monitor systems, the voting system, it's all digital now. We just kind of refreshing the, if you're on YouTube and you watch our videos, you'll see the cameras have changed, a little bit better quality, imaging. These are all things we're trying to enhance to make the experience better, not only for council members, but mostly for the public. Item number 34, though, had to do with more the aesthetic, and this had to do with the front panel of the dais where the council members sit. You may not be able to see it when you're on video or on video, but when you're in person, the wood panels were old. You know, they've been there for quite a while. I couldn't give a date, but they were definitely dated. Just like behind us, if you look at the wall behind us, it's wood paneling. Probably has been up there for 40, 50, 60 years. I don't know. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not, you know, ripping or falling down or anything like that. But a lot of things, you know, it's nice to be, you know, painted over, refreshed. And this is kind of what that was. I'm not opposed to investing in it. You know, it's more like the air conditioning, the electronics, whether it's the electrical plugs or the digital stuff like we're using iPads and monitors. The voting system is all digital now. But as far as the physical structure, you know, the ADA compliant podium in the front, I thought that was great because we do had some situations where people may have been in a wheelchair or other circumstances where you couldn't really see them, they couldn't get to the microphone. So we have an ADA compliant podium. Another couple of things was the doors. There's some little swing doors on the sides that you can come through to get to the front of where council's at. And the openings were too small. A wheelchair couldn't get through them. And so we made those improvements. I think those are fine. Those are things that are really not too crazy expensive. But overall, we did the varnish and the wood at the front of the dais and some other improvements. Like I said, there was some electrical work and some other things. But anyhow, this had come to us a few months ago. And the total price initial was $52,000 to do this. With a 10% contingency, that's, you know, if things cost a little bit more, unfortunately, you know, something jumped up in price or something, there's always a 10% contingency. So of a total of just shy of $58,000 total. Now, initially I voted against it. I thought everything worked fine. I would have approved if it was more the necessities like the podium, the ADA compliant, like openings for people to come by. I thought those were fine. I didn't like necessarily the wood varnish and specifically the E pluribus unum in the front, the lettering, because it's just words. You know, we got "In God We Trust," E pluribus unum. We got a lot of the symbolism going on in the community, which if it doesn't cost anything, that's great, you know. But if we're talking about spending thousands of dollars, I don't know how that's impactful to the community and how it helps us do our job. So the vice mayor was kind of interesting. I always wonder, I know there's a lot of information that's coming into us. Like again, I said, there's 865 pages in this last agenda. So, but the vice mayor kind of kept hitting this point that if there was this 10% contingency, we wouldn't have had this problem. It wouldn't have come back to us. But it said it, I think on the second paragraph, there was 10% contingency and it still didn't cover the cost. And so there's an additional, let's see, how much was it? An additional $5,700 to finish the work. And the idea was, well, we've gone this far, let's just spend another, almost $6,000 to complete it. And my whole thing was, I wish we hadn't have done that from the get-go. I wish it would have broken off to necessities versus there's a want and needs. And, you know, I spoke earlier because I said, maybe the vice mayor misspoke. There's a lot of information in our minds because I was told later on after the meeting that I voted yes on this, even though I kind of made the argument against it. And for the record, there's so many things in my mind as well. My apologies if I did vote for this because I probably was moving on to the next item by the time everybody gave their recommendations or opinions or thoughts on it. I probably had forgotten and was thinking of the next thing when I voted yes. I didn't catch it at the time. And so ultimately it ended up passing, but I know some people the next day were like, hey, do you know you voted yes for item number 34 when you were saying like we shouldn't do that? And this isn't a grave mistake because it is minimal money. However, this just goes again to whether the vice mayor misspoke on the 10%. I misvoted on something. There's a lot of, people talk about being nervous when they come up to this podium to speak. Sometimes it's a little bit like that for us. We got all these notes. I got pages and pages of notes. And, the binder, I wish I brought it, it was pretty thick. And so you're trying to flip through and find the pages and references and stuff. So again, I just want to give a little background on that. There was an idea that the new city manager wanted to do a fitness gym in the basement of City Hall. I was adamantly against it. Again, we keep talking about there's these budget issues. There's risk management and the retirement system. But then over and over and over, they find ways to spend money on pet project. And what's really interesting about this was they moved money from the gym fund, which I didn't know we funded, to the chamber fund to rejuvenate the city chambers. So I think it's, maybe it's just semantics, but I'm like, wow, I didn't know, although we voted no to create the gym, somebody funded it somehow, because I didn't give approval for that funding. And maybe it was in the budget and all the hundreds or thousands of lines. But I just thought it was funny that we voted no to do the gym, but yet there's this gym money kind of floating around just waiting to be used for something to justify it. And so it's just interesting. Again, this may not be, it's again, not significant, impactful thing, but I just want to give you some insight from behind the scenes of what is this money for? How does it benefit the community? What's the long-term investment? I think for the podium and the electronic upgrade, whether it's the outlets, because it was kind of embarrassing. A new city attorney, maybe a month ago, needed to charge her laptop, and none of the outlets where they sit were working. And it's just stuff like that. I think, yeah, let's spend $5,000, $10,000. I don't know what it is to ultimately pay for that, but then to sit here and go, we need $5,700 to put a few letters in the front of the dais. I'm like, I'd rather that go to Parks and Leisures. I'd rather that go to some equipment that, a department might utilize. Maybe it goes down to pay off some debts that we have. I mean, it's a drop in the bucket, but again, between the advertisement and spending money on other things, I think there could have been a better use of the funds. And so, again, this is a smaller topic, but just, some context of behind the scenes of what happened. And so, again, thank you for watching.